Hey ladies and gentlemen, Steven here from Redolessence and welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate your time and your viewership. It means a lot to me. And in today's episode, we're going to be taking a closer look at a fragrance by the company Dior Fragrances, and this one is called Late Night Venom. So make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin my fragrance review of Late Night Venom by Dior Fragrances, I do want to mention that if you are a fan of fragrance-related content, if you like fragrance reviews here on YouTube, but also top 10 videos, giveaways, unboxings, special guests, and more, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. All you have to do is click on that red button in the corner. And of course, while you're at it, please make sure to enable notifications by clicking on the bell icon. This way, whenever I do put out these videos, they will get delivered straight to your feed. You never need to worry about missing any of my future uploads. So of course, the Dior brand is a brand that specializes on inspired expressions, aka clones of more popular fragrances. Sometimes they focus on rare, hard to find, and discontinued fragrances. Other times they just focus on very expensive niche fragrances. Of course, they also have original creations and they make hybrids as well. But this fragrance, Late Night Venom, is actually their interpretation of Midnight Poison by Christian Dior. Now, I'm familiar with Midnight Poison. I'm also familiar with Pure Poison, Hypnotic Poison, even Poison Girl, both concentrations, because my mother is a huge fan of the Poison family, if you will. So there's something about this fragrance that I was always drawn to, and there's also something about the Poison fragrances that kind of come across as a little bit unisex in my opinion. When we're talking about Hypnotic Poison, it kind of has that overdose of almond and vanilla, and I find both of those ingredients to be rather gender neutral. And in this one, the only ingredient in here that could lean potentially a little bit feminine is the note of rose, but I think it has a lot of patchouli, vanilla, and abundant citrus that really makes this a gender neutral fragrance. I'm really excited to give you my thoughts on their interpretation of this 2013 formulation of Midnight Poison, but let's go ahead and start things off with the presentation. So as soon as this fragrance opens up, the first thing that you'll notice about it is the freshness. I think it opens up very fresh, which was a bit of a contradiction because you do have the patchouli and the vanilla lingering in the base. So I thought that they were going to have more of an influence in this fragrance. And although it kind of puts it in the way of like a Chypre or an Oriental fragrance, especially on account of the vanilla and that subtle sweetness you're going to get in the base, I'm also picking up on a lot of nuances from this fragrance that come across smelling rather fresh. So I know it has the bergamot, it has the mandarin orange, and I do pick up on a little bit of an orangey quality in this fragrance, and I think it's very likable. And I think it's also what is helping to put this fragrance into a gender neutral category as opposed to a feminine category. Now, when you think about the floral influence in this fragrance, you are going to get a lot of rose. And of course, in the Middle East, men wear rose very comfortably. So it's not necessarily one of those ingredients that scream femininity. I think it's a very gender neutral ingredient. And I personally love smelling rose. I love wearing rose perfumes, whether we're talking about Cartier's Declaration d'un Soir or we're talking about Lyric Man by Amouage. And I think it's pieced together in this composition very nicely so that it doesn't come across smelling feminine, and also that it doesn't come across smelling very heavy-handed. Now, I believe this to be a soliflor. Of course, those are the only notes about this fragrance that I'm really familiar with. I'm sure there's a lot more going on in here that the perfumers, because this was a collaborative effort among 3 perfumers, and of course I'm referring to the original, I know that the perfumers probably have a lot of other tricks in their sleeves that they're not willing to divulge, but I can only pick up on rose. There is this general clean quality, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of jasminol in here as well, because it can kind of lean in that direction, but this is a really nice floral scent. That vanilla in the base is really admirable. I really look forward to it every time I wear this fragrance, and despite the fact that it's immediately apparent from the opening, I pick up on a lot more of that warm, sensual vanilla thing about 2 hours into the longevity of the fragrance. And so very well done, very well pieced together. Yes, it did bring me back memories of my mother and the times that she used to wear this fragrance. And although this wasn't one of her favorites, she wore a lot of Gucci Rush. She wore a lot of Hypnotic Poison, which was probably her favorite from the Poison line. But I do remember her wearing this fragrance as well. And so it brought back a lot of really fond memories. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. So first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, of course, this is not a unique fragrance by any stretch of the imagination. This is a clone of a more popular designer fragrance. However, the one thing that it really has going for it is the fact that a lot of people are saying that the one that's currently on the market has been reformulated quite a bit, and so it doesn't last as long. So if you are interested in picking up a fragrance that smells very, very, very similar to the popular designer fragrance, but you want one that gives you really good longevity, or longevity that is similar to the original formulations, definitely check out Late Night Venom. I think it might be to your liking, especially if you're a fan of the original. In terms of the longevity on this one, I would say I got about 8 hours on my skin. The projection was fantastic for the first 2 hours of application, and it didn't really start to sit close to the skin until about that 6.5 hour mark, but I was still able to smell it on me, and I put a lot on my shirt as well. And so you'll still be able to perceive it on yourself, but just know that it's not going to be as loud as it is in those first 2 hours. That's really where you're going to get the best longevity from this fragrance. In terms of the versatility, I find it to be unisex, even though the original is marketed for women. I think this would make for a really great casual fragrance, but also a really great formal fragrance as well, because it's not wimpy, it's not wispy, it's not weak or tenuous in any way. So I can see this one being worn in a really nice dress, or even as a gentleman in a really nice suit and tie as well. And I think that this one probably will appeal to the needs and the sensitivities, or sensibilities, excuse me, of somebody who's a little bit older as opposed to somebody who's on the younger side. And in terms of the presentation, I often do like the graphics on the bottles. I think they're kind of quirky and cool. My final verdict for this fragrance is, if you are a fan of the original, if you miss the prowess and the lasting power of some of the earlier formulations of the original fragrance, and you're just interested in picking up something that matches that performance, but something that is rather affordable, and I know the brand is always running promotions on the weekends, and so definitely check this fragrance out. I think you'll really enjoy it. That was Late Night Venom by Duo Fragrances. If you're a fan of citrus, rose, vanilla, and patchouli, definitely a fragrance worth checking out. So thank you so much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate your viewership. I hope you took something of value from this video. If you did, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. All you have to do is click on that red button in the corner. And of course, while you're at it, make sure to enable notifications by clicking on the bell icon. This way, whenever I do put out these videos, they will get delivered straight to your feed. You never need to worry about missing any of my future uploads. Thanks again for watching. Love you all. We'll see you next time. Bye.